Hello everyone, welcome back to Scared in the Name of Science, Part 2 of our crossover with the Northern Folklore Archive. If you haven't checked out Part 1 yet, skip backwards to last month's episode and have a little listen, because we're going to jump straight in with Holly's second story today, and I can't wait. You said as well earlier, you mentioned when we were talking before this, that you had one from your hometown that neither of us have ever heard of.
Yes, I do. We were talking about the fact that it has been on very popular podcasts already, so it is kind of in the public eye at the moment. But as someone who grew up in this town, I kind of come at it from the stories that I heard when I was a child, because every kid in this town gets told this story from one person or another. I don't think there's anyone in this town that doesn't know about this story. And I'm talking about the Todmorden UFO. Aliens came to my hometown. And unfortunately, it was years before my birth, which is just rude.
But you then get all the secondhand stories and the word of mouth stuff that doesn't end up getting recorded, which is cool.
It was an interesting one to write, because every time I write something for the website, it's usually from a town that I've never been to or an area that I've not heard of. So yeah, usually it's a place that I've never been to before, so I don't get that kind of local know-how or local vibe to the story. It kind of is just what I've researched. So this one was a little bit different because, like I said, I was born in Todmorden and, lived there my entire life. I recently moved away for work and I do miss it all the time, but it has a strong place in my heart. So yes. We're going to the 1980s for this one, and it centres around a crime. So a crime took place which already had strange, weird things going on. It wasn't a usual crime, it was shrouded in mystery. And then to make it even weirder, an alien showed up.
As they do.
Yeah. Pop around at the worst times.
Things are already going weird, might as well pop in.
Yeah, might as well just add some more confusion to it. We're going back to June 1980, and it begins with a 56-year-old coal miner called Zygmunt Adamski. He left his home in Tingley, West Yorkshire, which is kind of close to Todmorden, but not massively. I say about 20 miles away, I would say. He left it to go to work and he never returned, which everyone who knew him said that he wouldn't run away. It's very weird that he's not returned from work. That was the 6th of June that he left his house. On the 9th of June, his body was reported lying atop a 10-foot-high pile of coal. You wouldn't accidentally stumble upon a pile of coal to lie atop of deceased, especially if you just left your house to go to work.
No, that's quite a journey.
Our protagonist of this story was on Uncanny, the podcast by Danny Robbins, and this person speaks on there. I would recommend listening to this from the Uncanny podcast because he tells it the way that no one else is ever going to be able to tell it. But our protagonist is PC Alan Godfrey. He was a police officer in Todmorden at the time, and he was the one who found Adamski atop this pile of coal. He put on his report that he was still wearing the suit that he left the house in, but he was missing his shirt, and his wallet and his watch were also missing, which is a little bit strange.
So they literally had the shirt off his back.
Shirt off the back, but the suit's still intact.
Sounds a bit like a mugging, to be honest.
Yeah.
Take his wallet and watch.
His possessions have been taken. Yeah.
Redress him.
Yeah, that is strange.
Might get cold. I don't know. A caring criminal is giving him his jacket back.
Bit nippy. Pop that back on me.
I'll take your shirt though. It's quite nice.
Yeah.
So not only that, but Adamski left his house with a lush full head of hair, and you can Google pictures of him, and he does have a lot of hair on his head. But when PC Alan Godfrey found him, it was chopped off very roughly, as if someone had done a whack job on cutting his hair.
Interesting, because affecting the hair is the move of a serial killer or something like that.
It's kind of power play or something.
Yeah, that's weird.
For the amount of time he was missing, his beard hair length was not what you would expect. You'd expect some kind of growth, but he was, as the day he left, there was no beard growth on him. There was also some mysterious burns on his neck, head and shoulders, of which the people analysing, that's where I was supposed to say the technical term for the people who analyse stuff like that, but I can't remember the name of the people who analyse stuff like that. They said that some of the burns on him had been made from a strange ointment that they could not identify.
Ooh. Ooh.
That's interesting.
Once this story was leaked in the newspapers, because stories like this often got leaked into local newspapers anyway, theories ran absolutely wild. People were saying that he'd been murdered by the KGB. People were saying that he'd been struck by a ball of lightning. Nobody seemed to be able to decide what had happened to this man, but everyone was trying to guess what had happened to this man.
Yeah, throw everything at it and something will stick.
And what do you think the most popular theory was?
Well, you did start off saying this was a UFO story. So...
Pass the test for listening. Listening skills are top. I would say in the 1980s there was a lot of aliens in the media. You know, Close Encounters, Aliens, Ridley Scott film, all of that. The cinema loved aliens, so it's not unusual that people would jump to aliens for this. I guess, you know, there was some strange circumstances. No one could really understand why it'd been put there, what the mysterious burns were. But yeah, a lot of people were like, this was not of human. Humans did not do this to this man. The world moved on. People kind of forgot a little bit about Adamski and what happened to him, and PC Alan Godfrey continued being a police officer in Todmorden. One morning, I've heard it was in the morning, very early in the morning, he was sent to deal with a call about some escaped cattle, which is absolutely the kind of calls you get in Todmorden.
Yeah, we live in a very small Welsh town, and we get random cattle walking up and down the street all the time that have just got loose from the farmers' fields. Mm-hmm. Yep. It happens.
Nothing's changed then.
No.
So on the drive up to deal with this loose cattle, Alan was abruptly halted in his tracks by what he described as an unidentified flying object. He saw something that he could not identify, and he does talk about this very earnestly on the podcast that he's on. It was very, very amusing to me to hear him speak, because he has more of a Yorkshire accent than me, and I don't know what it is about Yorkshire accents, but I trust him. I believe every word he says. Just something about the way he speaks, I'm like, yep, you definitely saw something. Even though I wasn't there, and I have no idea of knowing if he was, just his glorious accent makes me believe him.
Because I have the same thing. If someone is from the north, I trust them a lot more than a southerner.
Oh, okay, thanks.
But that's like one of my own like inbuilt prejudices, which I do try to be aware of.
I think it's a certain kind of bias from where you're from, pretty much. Yeah. I think can be boiled down to that.
My favourite character on Casualty is the Northern Man.
The Northern Man.
The Northern Man.
The Northern Man. Is that a cryptid? The Northern Man.
It should be. We're going to make one up now.
So how did he describe the UFO?
Excellent segue, because that is the next part of this story. Alan described the object as a bright light in the sky, what looked to be a rotating diamond-shaped vessel. It was 20 feet high and 14 feet wide. Now, being a policeman, his instinct was to take a quick sketch of what the object looked like before he called it into the station. So he took out his little pad and he drew a little picture of it, and then he called it into the station. But when he tried to call into the station, I presume on his little walkie-talkie that police people do, and I'm taking that knowledge from the movies because I've never been in a police car before, I'm presuming that's what they do.
They do have, like, communication that way.
The line was completely dead. He was on his own. There was no one on the other end of the line. So he was alone on the moors of Todmorden, which are quite a scary place, with this diamond-shaped vessel. He explained later, when he got back to the police station to report this, that he saw a brilliant white blinding flash, and as if in an instant he was driving back in the opposite direction with no recollection of getting back in his car and doing so. He believes he lost from 20 to 25 minutes of time in the part that he can't remember, which is terrifying.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's off-putting.
Yeah, to like be going in one direction and then suddenly you're going in the opposite direction. That's crazy. That's not like a easy mistake to make.
No, that's... I mean, I'm sure we've all kind of zoned out doing things, but that's taking it to the extreme, really.
Especially if you're aware of this like weird thing happening, you'd be awake, you'd be alert.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be more alert than usual because you've just come face to face with a blinding white light, a diamond-shaped vessel rotating in front of you.
Yeah, like what was going on?
Diamond shape's interesting. Has it been referred to as a Dorito, or is that a different alien encounter, like the UFOs, when they were saying it was like Dorito shape?
I think that's
Who said it's Dorito shaped?
I swear I've heard that somewhere.
No, you definitely have. I think it's quite a common thing for them to say. I can't remember if it's in the Broadhaven ones or in a different rash of UFO sightings.
But it's interesting that pointy seems to be the theme.
That or disc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose if I was asked to draw a UFO, I would draw something that kind of looks like Jupiter or Saturn with the ring around it, with the planet shape. I would never think Dorito.
No, I have definitely heard triangular-shaped objects before too.
It's just interesting because it's not very aerodynamic.
No, you'd think that it wouldn't be. It would be the opposite of the kind of shape that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Unless it goes flat and it is that thin. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
But then you do have to ask yourself, could it have just been a, really bright star?
Yeah, well, yeah, potentially.
Potentially. Even stranger to all of this, to add to the weirdness, he noticed that his boot he was wearing, I believe on his left foot, was sliced open and there was an itchy red mark that had begun to spread up his foot. So not only was he turned in the other direction, but his foot was now itchy as hell with a slice in the boot.
And he doesn't remember getting out of the car.
He doesn't remember anything in that 25 minutes.
Ooh.
That is really strange.
Very, very odd. And again, telling this story, you get a feeling of how people would receive it. It feels ridiculous just to tell the story. But listening to him himself, I just don't know what it is. I just don't think he's lying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe that's just me wanting to believe that that's what he believed. I don't know. It's a strange one.
Well, I think with people, it's not that they're lying. It's just that they're not sure what happened. It's not always fair to assume that people have malicious intention and are lying. I think, accepting what someone says as their perception of an event doesn't mean they're lying. It might not be the truth, but, it might just be what it is.
It's like the brain is trying to fill in the blanks sometimes.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I would hope that if I had a story like this, because nothing like this has ever happened to me, but if I would hope that people would think that I'm being honest with how I felt in those situations, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Alan, our police officer in question, reported all this to the police, and he was put under hypnosis to try and figure out what happened in those 20 minutes. They thought maybe he's repressed something, maybe something his brain doesn't want to remember. He described a strange room filled with little creatures that seemed to be examining him. Within the room was also a tall humanoid figure with a beard, and that's all he could remember. So, perhaps that could be linked to the slice in his boot or something like that. I'm not sure. But he said that he could only recall that when put under. And unfortunately for him, I mean, this was the 1980s, we have to remember, his story was leaked in the newspapers, and he got ridiculed to hell for all of this. I mean, there was a quote, he had an interview and he said, "It's not easy having a policeman as a father, but when he's a policeman who saw a UFO, it's even worse." I do feel for him.
Yeah, that must be really, really tough.
Is it bad that I almost feel like that adds more credibility because he's expressing the fact that, look, I didn't do this to get famous or to have fun. I'm actually kind of almost wish it didn't because of my kids.
I think if you'd ask him, he'd say, "Wish he never saw it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does get weirder again. This is why I love this story, because it just keeps having more and more layers added to it. This is like a big, weird, spooky lasagna full of layers.
I love that spooky lasagna.
So Alan became somewhat of a local celebrity due to the leak, and he was called into his inspector's office to discuss what had happened. And when he went into the office, a man in a dark suit, who was introduced as the man from the ministry, whatever that means, he was there in the office and he was holding a file that included Alan's initial sketch of the vessel, so the sketch that he very quickly did before he called anything in. He was holding that sketch, and in his other hand was the Zygmunt Adamski case. Now, Alan was made to swear on the Official Secrets Act that he would speak no more of aliens or probe any more into Adamski's murder. And for months after this interaction with the man from the ministry, he was followed everywhere he went by a man he could not recognise. He was transferred to Wakefield Police to get away from Todmorden, and an attempt was made to have him sectioned as well. So poor Alan had his entire life ripped out. But who introduces themselves as the man from the ministry? That is just...
that's really ominous. Yeah.
That's like UK Men in Black, but creepier.
Yeah.
You know?
And the fact that he said to him to stop talking about aliens and to stop looking into the Adamski case, it infers that the two are linked.
It absolutely
Not
does.
explicitly said that the two are linked.
Yeah. Call me a cynic. But if we're going to take everything that's been said at face value, he's not lying, what has happened to him has happened to him. To me, I think it's more likely that the government was doing something dodgy than it is that it was alien intervention, because I think it's definitely more plausible the government has done very dodgy things in the past, especially with weapons testing and that kind of thing.
Yorkshire Moors does have a couple of military bases as well, so...
I would, if I had to make some kind of guess, because I have no answers, by the way, I'm giving you no satisfaction of any answers because this story has no answers.
Yeah.
But if I had to make some kind of guess, I would say that the attention that was being drawn to Alan because of the alien stuff was probably the reason why they told him to stop talking about the alien stuff. And the reason why he had the Adamski case, I'm guessing they just didn't want any more attention on the case. They just wanted the case to stop being talked about in the tabloids and the newspapers. I can imagine being taken into your manager's office and being introduced to the man from the ministry is absolutely terrifying. I would not want that to happen to me.
It's creepy. Like, the man from the ministry thing's creepy. The whole overall thing is strange and disconcerting. Yeah.
But why would the aliens take someone's shirt?
They didn't. Well, you're assuming it again as the aliens.
Well, we're inferring from the man from the ministry that these cases are linked.
This is the man from the ministry's fault.
Exactly.
Assuming it is aliens, perhaps they cut it off his body. The jacket goes over your shirt, isn't it? But if you wanted to look at someone's torso, you have to cut through the shirt, but a jacket's already, you can peel back.
But would the alien know that that's not just another layer of skin? Would he not then have cuts on his bodies? Because what if they thought the top layer was skin?
All we have to do is lift it and be like, oh look, you can go underneath it, you can go over it.
Right, but it's an alien. They don't know how things work.
I'm surely they know what over and under means.
I don't know. I don't speak alien. I will say I'm very intrigued by this fluid that created the burns on the original guy.
Yeah.
And the cut, because I feel like a lot of the time, if there's a injury or something like that, that pain will snap you out of whatever's going on. So the fact that he doesn't remember getting that injury is crazy to me, because you can get injuries and not remember getting them, but that's because they didn't hurt until they do. And as soon as they start hurting, you're like, how'd I get that?
If you've been drugged or something.
Yeah.
It could be aerosol drugs. It might not have been anything injected, and I'm not saying he's taken drugs voluntarily, because that's a hell of a...
Yeah, he's a police officer, he probably wouldn't.
Not that, because I'm sure there are some who do, but...
That's not wild aspersion to put against someone, just to presume that they're on drugs.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't make that kind of an accusation, but...
I wonder if there was a tox screen done afterwards or anything like that.
It would be interesting, because he did say that when his boot was sliced open, he noticed a red, itchy thing spreading up his foot. I wonder if that was caused by the same strange ointment that was on Adamski's body. I don't know if they did any tests on his foot injury, if it was actually a burn that he got on his foot.
I wonder if they kept any samples of the ointment to analyse. I'm wondering what the analytical process would have been there. Like, how did they try and test it?
In the 1980s, they probably would have done, because that was like the beginning of the advent of DNA and stuff.
I mean, no, I'm sure they did something, but I'm just curious what they did, how they tried to analyse the ointment.
I wonder if they went back to it now, if they kept any samples, that they would be able to identify what it is.
The problem with that would be degradation over time.
I suppose
things
so,
have like chemicals have stability and shelf life, and they degrade into other stuff depending on what it is.
This would be interesting to find out.
Yeah, definitely, it would be interesting,
because that would then be another.
Maybe they do know what it is, but because it's such a normal, average household thing, that it's just not anything that anyone's linked the two together.
A little bit of like
bleach.
Yeah.
Oh man, you got Canva.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a friction burn from the carpet in your car.
Yeah.
That's really weird. Is there any other things to that case, or is that
It's everything that I either remember or have researched about it. There was one thing that I did want to bring up. I'm cautious of bringing this up because I don't want to call him a liar or anything like that. But in Todmorden in the 1970s, there was a model of what a future house would look like. It was called the Todmorden Futuro House. And they put it on wheels and they toured it around and they were like, this is the future of houses. And if you Google Todmorden Futuro house, it looks like a spaceship. It literally looks like a spaceship. I'm not saying that he saw this house, you know, driving on the moors in the 1980s. I don't know if it was still around in the 1980s, but it does look suspiciously like a spaceship.
Is it diamond shaped?
It's what you, well, it's like ovally, it's like an oval shape. Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm just going to describe this to you and for all of you at home who can't see this. The picture will be on Instagram afterwards too as well. But there seems to be 2 or 3 different coloured versions of these. There is a silver one, a turquoise one, and a bright yellow one.
Very alien colours.
This thing almost looks like an ocarina, if that helps you guys at all.
Yes.
But essentially, it looks almost like a donut shape with circular windows dotted around the edge of it, and like a little mouth door that opens with steps that fold open. It's on little like triangle studded feet, almost like what you would have on a trampoline, and it looks exactly like an alien spaceship would look if you had to draw one.
I can't, so that is exactly what it looks like, absolutely. I would describe it as a windowed whoopee cushion, actually.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. But if you asked someone to quickly sketch a UFO, it looks
probably
exactly
do that.
like that house.
Or it would be like the flying saucers, but like the sweet flying saucers with the sherbet in them. That kind of
Yeah. Part of me is like, it was 5 a.m. Was he tired? Did he see this weird model house floating about the moors? I'm not sure. It doesn't account for the 20 minutes he lost. It doesn't account for the injury on his foot. But it is just very interesting to know that thing there existed in Todmorden around this time.
Yeah. Not to, for like a potential medical explanation, obviously I'm sure he's had medical testing and all that kind of stuff, so I don't think this is overly relevant. But you can have epileptic absences where you just completely lose kind of perception of what you're doing. It's like you're still doing what you're doing, but your mind switches off. So I would be curious if they did that, like medical records and stuff. But then again, I'm sure if there was anything to be found in his medical records, that would have been already
I think many people have discussed this and tried to come up with some kind of explanation for any part of this story, but it's going to be one of those stories where you're just never going to know for sure. You're never going to know, and
especially if there is a government cover-up.
I'm not saying that is what happened. I'm just saying I'd believe that over I'd believe aliens. I'm more willing to trust that, like, the government's being dodgy than it is like aliens coming down to wind up a couple of people, maybe kill someone, leave.
Just to irritate a police officer, just coming down.
I am thoroughly going for both aliens followed by a cover-up.
Being covered up.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I wanted to say thank you so much for coming on and telling us these 2 stories. They have been so interesting and fascinating, and I can't wait to go and explore Sheffield with a little bit more knowledge about it and possibly go and visit your hometown as well, because it sounds very interesting to have this UFO story. Do you have any, like, is there any plaques or anything there to talk about it, or is it just like that word of mouth story?
It's just, it's just a story that kind of everyone grew up hearing this story. I don't believe there's any plaques or anything. I know that Todmorden has a folklore centre, and I would be shocked and surprised if this wasn't mentioned there.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It's been really fun talking to you and hearing loads more stories, especially from the north, so thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us, though. We are available on Instagram as our main sort of social media for updates, but episodes come out on Spotify and YouTube. We are also available on Reddit and Threads as well. We also have our email address, which
scared in the name of science @gmail.com.
Fantastic, yes, so convincing.
You can tell I usually need a script for this.
And if you're interested in finding out more about the Northern Folklore Archive, you can either visit Holly on her Instagram, or you can check it out on their website, Northern Folklore Archive. They have loads of incredible merch as well, so I highly recommend checking out their store. But thank you so much again, Holly, for joining us, and we will see the rest of you in the next episode.